Welcome to another NBA playoff special on The Grueling Truth. We're going to show you how to bet the Hawks versus the Celtics. We're going to preview the series, give you our prediction of who wins this series. And remember, you can follow us at Grueling Truth. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification button to get all of our shows on YouTube. And look for BetMGM to bet all the games. Click in the link in the description down below in the video. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Let's get this started. And game one will take place on Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN at the TD Garden. Boston won all three games against Atlanta during the regular season. We expect them to pick up right where they left off. After defeating Miami 116-105 in a play-in tournament on Tuesday night, Atlanta will look to improve their performance against Boston in the playoffs. The Hawks have some very talented players. They've got Murray, they've got Young in the backcourt, but they've struggled to come together and be a cohesive team this season. Now, on the other end of this whole thing is the Boston Celtics, who made it to the finals last year. They've been one of the league's top teams this season, largely due to the impressive performances of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And as they demonstrated last year in the NBA playoffs, they're capable of taking the C's all the way to the finals. Now, when we look at this game, I think you got to look at history with a recent past. And much like with what happened this season, the Celtics have had Atlanta's number in the regular season. And if you look historically, the Celtics have had their number also. This goes all the way back to 1957 when the Celtics, Bill Russell, won his first championship by beating the Hawks. And Boston this year's average scoring margin of victory was 13.33 points in the three games they played against the Hawks. The Hawks didn't get beat as bad by anybody. They played three times this year. And there's a 10-2 playoff series advantage over the Hawks for the Celtics, the most recent being the meeting in 2016, which featured one of those two losses to an Al Horford-led Atlanta squad. Now, probably the most memorable matchup was the 1987, I think it was the Eastern Conference Finals, where Game 7, Dominique and Larry Bird went toe-to-toe and played one of the great basketball games you'll ever see. The fourth quarter, neither one of them could miss. Now, both of these teams have elite offenses. And as you can see in the results above, the Celtics-Hawks matchups tended to be high-scoring affairs. That's what happens, of course, when you get two great offenses together. Atlanta and Boston were the highest-scoring teams in the Eastern Conference this season, with the Hawks leading the conference with 118 a game, 118.4. The Celtics right behind at 117.9. However, Atlanta's scoring was somewhat skewed by the fact that it played at the second fastest pace in the conference compared to Boston, which played at the ninth fastest pace. Thus, the Celtics actually had the number one offensive rating in the East at 117.3 points per 100 possessions, compared to Atlanta's fourth place mark of 115.5. Now, Boston's offense is the direct result of elite ball movement. As it ranked second in the conference in assists per game at 27.6, Atlanta's mark at 25.0 is good, but it ranked eighth despite having the league's individual leader in assists, Trae Young, for the second straight year. The biggest matchup to me in this game may be Trae Young against Derek White. Atlanta's entire offense revolves about Young, who averages 26 and 10, and it's going to take a group effort to slow him down. Marcus Smart and Derek White will share a large portion of that responsibility. But we're going to focus on the matchup that we saw most of during the regular season when these two played, which was Trae Young against Derek White. White gave up 9.5 per game to Young during the possessions of which he guarded him, which was the highest average of any player defended by White all season. Young scored a total of 19 points during his 45.4 offensive possessions against White, all while shooting 50% from the field and 60% from three-point range. With that being noted, White still could be up to the task here. He's a very good defensive player. Another place here is the battle of the boards. Atlanta's key to success in its play-in win over the Heat Tuesday was its dominance on the offensive boards. The Hawks grabbed 22 rebounds on the offensive glass, 8 of which were corralled by Clint Capella, who finished with 2 more such rebounds than Miami's entire roster. While it gets interesting is that the Celtics were the best defensive rebounding team in the league this year, with a defensive rebounding percentage of 74.6. However, Atlanta On the flip side, 14.3 offensive rebounds per game against the Celtics were the most corralled by any of their Eastern Conference foes. Clean bill of health is always big going to the playoffs, and it's a rarity for two teams to head into a playoff series with clean bills of health. But that is exactly how this series is shaping up as they prepare for Saturday's opener, with the exception, of course, of Hawk guard Danilo Gallinari, who has missed the entire season recovering from the ACL. So, Jaylen Brown is healthy. You got some minor scrapes here or there, but both of these teams are ready to go. Another huge point here will be Atlanta, which has struggled against Boston's bench. One of the greatest advantages that the Celtics have going for them this season is their depth. Now, Atlanta has struggled tremendously against Boston's second unit players this season, and that may continue to be an issue throughout this series. Sam Hauser was a thorn in the Hawks' side in all three matchups, and surprisingly tied Jason Tatum for the team high in total points against Atlanta with 53. He shot 66.7% from the field, 68% shooting from the three-point range. Peyton Pritchard averaged 22 points, 8.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists in two matchups against the Hawks, while shooting 51.7% from the field and 59% from deep. Former Hawk Mike Muscala scored a career-high 27 against Atlanta in the season finale, and Malcolm Brogdon scored 18 in his lone matchup against the Hawks. So in all, 10 different Celtics averaged double digits in scoring against Atlanta this season. It's not a good sign, including 5 players who typically come off the bench. Some of those numbers were skewed during the regular season finale, but there's value in the fact that every Celtics player who will see the court has had some kind of offensive success this year against the Hawks. That can definitely not be said for the Hawks. So when we look at betting this, I would just basically bet this on the series at a plus 2.5, which means the Celtics win in basically 4 or 5 games, and you get a minus 165 bet. I do not see the Hawks winning more than 1 game in this series. I think the Celtics end this in 4 or 5 games, and I think they do it rather easy. I think the Eastern Conference to me is the big 3. In order to me, that's the Bucks, Celtics, and Sixers, and then it's everybody else. All right, guys, remember to follow me at Grueling Truth. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, bell notification button on YouTube. Go to BetMGM to watch to bet on the games. You can check out that link in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, guys, for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.